the Art and Industry of Business and Living podcast, discussing conscious choices around business, money, life and living, and creating a greater future for you and the planet. Hi everybody, welcome to the Art and Industry of Business and Living. You're with Simone Millis, surprise, surprise, your host. Yes, you get me every single week. How did you get so lucky? And I'm actually at home at the moment. So I'm in Bridgeton Beach. Just spent the weekend with my son, just got home. I'm off to Tahiti on Thursday, which is pretty exciting. I love saying that, off to Tahiti to do a Choice of Possibilities class. And today I'm joined by two Joy of Business facilitators, not just one, but two Joy of Business facilitators who happen to also be sisters. That is not their biggest claim to fame, even though some people might think it is. But they're going to enlighten us on creating beyond the family business. So first of all, welcome, Arlene and Kathy.
Thank you, Simone.
Thank you, Simone.
So let's talk about, where are you guys based?
We're based in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada.
Is it Edmonton, did you say?
Yeah.
I never knew that. Isn't that funny?
Well, it's actually Stony Plain, but everybody knows Edmonton, Alberta. So because that is the capital of Alberta.
Right. Okay. So tell me about the family business that you currently have.
Well, we've been involved with the family business for almost 20 years. God, we definitely didn't expect to be here this long. It's our parents started it in 1975. It's a heavy truck and trailer dealership. So we sell the big trucks and trailers that go down the road, along with offering parts and service and rentals and financing to our customers. And so we are the second generation. We also have a third generation, our niece, that works with us in advertising and social media. My parents started it together, and my father had ended up getting cancer in the late 90s and asked Kathy and I to, if we would just kind of come in for a bit to help while Mom and him focused on that, on kind of getting better from cancer. And unfortunately, he passed away in 2000. And here we are, this many years later, still at the show. Don't
you love the can you just come in and help out for a bit?
Yes, going on almost 18 years. We're just hanging around to see what's going to happen next.
That's the amount of times I've heard that, though, that people, 10 years later, 15 years later, 5 years later, and they were just going in somewhere to help out for a month or two or something like that, and then there they are. But that's how life gets created. And it's like, to me, that's the adventure of living as well. And, you can't work everything out. You can't plan it. So it's like these things show up. So you guys have actually I actually nicknamed your business Big Boys Toys, because that's what I always looked at it as. It's like all the big trucks and stuff, Big Boys Toys. So that's the way I like to look at it.
Well, it's definitely Big Boys Toys, because it is, guys, when you think of some of our customers who come in, I mean, they are so passionate about their trucks and trailers that they are big toys for big boys.
Yeah, love it. So you get to deal with it. It's like a big toy shop. So tell me, how's it been? Because you've got a fair few family members working in there, and like you said, you've got now third generation as well. So let's talk about what that's been like over the years. Like some of the good stuff, the stuff that maybe wasn't so easy to get through. Which one of the mantras of Access is all of life comes to me, these joy and glories. So I'm sure you've used that tool multiple times. And how you've actually created, because I know you've created it as a rather successful business as well. So what's that been like, that journey of working in the family business and some of the things that you've had to deal with?
I think when I look back, I the first kind of the milestone was when, after Dad passed away, we all pretty much had to decide what we were going to do. And there was never even a thought of giving up or like quitting or anything. And we all pulled together, and it was more for us, for the kids. We went based on the legacy for a long time, which sticks you, because you're always looking at the past. And that can be a bit of a challenge, especially when you're trying to create for the future. And even though we were building the legacy, thinking about how our parents had ran the business, and our mom still worked with us, along with we have another brother and sister. And literally, we've had so many ups and downs through the years, really, really successful years, some not so successful years. I think one of the challenges, and that's where the Access tool I'm so grateful for, is that working with family on a day-to-day basis, along with 30 some employees, that's where you have to take a whole different look, because we had to look, none of us really worked together before up until that point. So we had to see each other as adults, and then we had to actually be able to see each other and what we were capable of doing in some of our talents or capacities. And when you're used to looking at your brother and sister through your filter of brother and sister, you don't always actually see sometimes, there's a lot of judgments, a lot of projections. And so Kathy and I mean, we've always worked well. We've always worked really well together. And we had our own business before becoming involved with the dealership. So it was kind of us coming in, and our other siblings had already been working there with our parents. So that was even interesting, because they never thought we were ever going to be involved with the business. And they actually weren't too happy that we were, our dad had asked us to step in. So without going into the huge story through the years, I think the biggest thing that I've seen, and Kathy, you can chime in right after here, is being able to work with family, being able to deal with the ups and downs of the industry, the economy. We live in Alberta, where it's very oil-based. So we've seen a lot of different things, especially the last several years worldwide, where, we've always had, as we call it in Alberta, boom and bust mentality. Things are really good, and then things can go down, sort of thing. So working with the industry mindset, that's the other thing that we had to kind of create that. And it was in about 2014 when we came across the Access Consciousness tools. And for us, it was like a breath of fresh air. It was like, and we'll get into some of the daily tools we use, but Kath, anything else you want to add?
Well, and I think the biggest thing is that when you come into a family business, there is the legacy. And that, as Arlene said, was a real sticking point. That became a reference point. And we went forward and operated our business based on the legacy, which is not always good. And so I think the biggest thing that really started to change things around for us is when we looked at each other and said, we can no longer operate from a legacy. And the second thing is that we can no longer continuously say it's a family business. We have business partners. Yes, they are family members, but let's take it to the next level and stop sticking us with the reference points, because family is a different reference point. Legacy is a different reference point. And business partner changes the dynamics. And it really did was the start of the change for us when we started saying my business partners. And we were able to take it to that level and start seeing each other as individuals who did have the talents and skills to run the area of the business that they excelled at.
Okay, so Kathy, let me ask you a question with this, because I know you and Arlene, and I see that you use Access tools, and, I will ask you guys about your daily tools soon, but the rest of your family are not involved in Access Consciousness as far as I know, and as far as I know, aren't using those tools. So how are they with that? Like, how are they with that level of change? Because that's really, that's coming in, changing everything up, going, right, what if we had a blank new slate? Whereas, both of you have mentioned it's like the legacy and dealing with the past. I see so many people, it's sort of like something they fall back onto, dealing with the past, thinking that if it worked in the past, it's going to work in the future, rather than looking at something different, which I see you guys, have been willing to do. So how was that with the rest of the family?
I think initially there was a lot of head clashing. I know for myself, I came in and started doing all of the advertising and marketing. So the head clashing right away is, well, this is what we used to do in the past. And it always worked in the past. So I had that with my mom. I had that with my brother. And then with my other sister, I had it with some of the accounting stuff that we were doing. I think the biggest strength is that Arlene and I were on the same page. And we continuously had the conversation. What is that going to look like in the future? What is that going to look like? So whether they realized it or not, with us continuously focusing on the change that we wanted to see and the change that was happening with us internally, they were being brought along whether they knew it or not. Because
so it rubs off on them?
It rubs off on them. And I think that the coolest part about that is that we weren't really trying to change them. They weren't getting any reactions from us anymore.
Right.
So they could yell and scream and sort of go off. And if they weren't getting the reaction, it was like, oh, this is different. How do I deal with this? And sort of would go away. And then Arlene and I would have the discussion and be able to take it. So, okay, what was good about that? What was right about that? How could we change it? Because we could see it in each other. So having each other as support definitely helped us change and brought them along, whether they wanted to or not.
Okay. So can you guys offer a few, like if someone's out there listening, I mean, you guys are really lucky to have each other. And if someone else is out there in what we call family business, and they desire to create a change and they desire to function from a different place, you know, as you say, with no reference points from the past or, you know, on how the business should be done, what are some of the tools you can recommend that they start with, even when they're up against some of the most judgmental people in their family?
I think the first thing is asking, like, what do you really want to create with your business? The other thing is realizing you're not actually alone, that your business is actually an energy of itself and you can actually create with your business. That was one of the things that I love doing, is actually literally talking to my business and asking it, like, what do we want to create for the future? What products do we want to create? What services do we want to, what kind of customer do we want to play with, sort of thing. I think the big is to realize there's always people around that are walking the same path as you, if you can say. And it's a matter of either whether going and attending local networking meetings or something like that, or chamber meetings or whatever, having and just being open to what else is actually possible for your business, and not really setting yourself fixed on your goals, but more of having an openness and asking, like, if I were, to be able, if this wasn't a problem, so if money wasn't a problem, what would I truly like to create? If finding the right people to be on your team or to do your website or your advertising wasn't a problem, what or who would I love to play with? Just even asking questions. That's kind of what is the biggest thing, is just staying in a place of no point of view, meaning not locking on to what you used to do, not locking on to what other people are doing in the industry. That was a big one for us. You'd hear, like, whether we were in the industry magazines or our customers would come in and they give us their point of view of what's going on in the industry, or the media would give us the point of view. And we're like, hey, cool, that's great. And what else is possible? Like, what can we create? So those are just a couple of the tools that, like, we use on a daily basis. But if you can stay and just ask, you're waking up in the morning and going, wow, what can I contribute to my business today? Hey business, what do we want to create today?
And, I just want to add in there too, you talking about this is interesting. I mean, I wrote, a book, Joy Business. I've been facilitating Joy Business classes for years. I've been using the Access Consciousness tools for, over 17 years now. And there's still stuff that shows up. It's like you never get it. It's like this forever a change, a place of change that you invite to occur. And one of the places, as you said, asking about your website, because I've had all this stuff go on with like 4 or 5 of my websites at the moment. And I eventually last week just went, you know what? I'm going to get more involved in here and see what's going on. With no point of view, I was like, okay, there's this stuck energy with all these different things. So what's going on? And I spoke to everyone involved and went, okay, so let's do this. And it's like, and who else can we bring in? And can this person get it done in this time frame? And this is, so it is interesting that you just assisted me in what you were talking about. Like, that's how it works. And it's like, you've got to keep remaining in the question, no matter what is occurring around you. Love that.
And it's on a daily basis. Yes, there is the big picture stuff of, what do I want to create in the future and what products do I want to offer and, who can I reach out and who are my customers? And those are all great questions, but taking it right back to the day and, what grand and glorious adventures am I going to have with my business today? What's right about this that I'm not getting? And, what does my what do you want to create with me today? And just having that day to day that will help keep you focused and on track, because it's really easy to get off track and take a side road, or, something blows up, customer's not happy with your service, customer's not happy with your product. How do you deal with that on a day-to-day basis? And as Arlene said, it's just asking the questions every single day and being present with that and realizing, oh, okay, I kind of remember something from, the past, but this is how I'm dealing with it today.
So let's talk about the creating beyond the family business. And as you guys mentioned, which I love the fact that you went, okay, these are my brothers and sisters and nieces and nephews and, aunties and uncles and whoever they are. And yet what they are is business partners. So looking at that. So take me to, do you guys hang out? Like, do you have Christmas Day together? Do you do family lunches together? Like, what's that like?
Yep, we do. I know.
And I love that you're laughing.
A lot. We're very good. We made a promise to all of us. Each of us made kind of a promise after our father died that we would stay together no matter what. And I will tell you, through the years, there are moments when I have not liked my siblings. There's never really been a moment where I've not liked my mom. My mom is pretty much retired. She still likes to come in once a week. And part of it, she loves to come in and have lunch with Kathy and I. And so Kathy and I have lunch every day together. My brother, lots of times he takes lunch at a different time. But we still, as a family, we're very close. We have family dinners. We spend the holidays together. When we get away from the business and we'll have a family dinner, we actually all get along really well. And there's a lot of laughter. There's a lot of talking of the future and beyond the business. And that was one thing we kind of made sure is that at our family dinners, because I remember growing up, one of the things growing up at the family dinner is I really didn't appreciate my parents always talking about the business all the time. And so they kind of made a pact to not talk about the business during our times together. And we do the same thing. If somebody brings up something, because lots of time the day gets busy and you don't always have a chance to meet during the day. And at a dinner, somebody will start talking about, we're like, pause, we set time at the office. This is family time. So right. We do actually get along quite well. And we go out, we'll go and, go to different events together or concerts or, some of us go vacationing still together. So
it is a new muscle to develop. It really is. When you have business partners that you are also family, is realizing, okay, we're now family time. So let's leave the business at home or at the business. And it was a very conscious effort for us to say, stop, we're not doing this. We'll do that at the next sales meeting. Let's get back to family time. So consciously being aware and being present so that we didn't go down that road.
Yeah. So let's talk about, I love that's what works for you guys and that's what you do. And I'm just looking at this at the moment. If I was in business with my brother, I straight away would go, oh my God, it wouldn't work, because we both look at life and everything completely different. But I also get that's what occurs in family business. If I look at the future of that, I'd go, oh my God, we'd end up hating each other and it would be the detriment of us never talking to each other again, sort of thing. And it's like, I get that there's tools, like we have tools and access that can show you a different way to be with that.
I think, Gary and I, my brother and I, really can clash. I mean, we can go head to head at each other and raise our voices so everybody in the building knows it. Now, thankfully, that doesn't happen as often as it used to in the past. And having the tools of access to use every day for me has been incredibly grateful. And I think the one tool that I've become so reliant on is what's right about this that I'm not seeing. And I say that saying, I can say that 150 times a day, and especially after a huge confrontation with Gary, it is, what's right about this that I'm not seeing? What's right about what just happened, which gives me the space to move forward. And again, Arlene having my back and reminding me to say that so that I can't go down in a downward spiral and cause things to.
And want to kill him.
Don't want to kill him. I've been close, and like you said, you and your brother have very different outlooks. We all, as individuals, have different outlooks, and using the tools of just that one saying for me has cleared a lot of energy.
Cool. So what's right about this I'm not getting? And what's right about me I'm not getting is a great question as well. Yeah. So the last thing I just wanted to have a look at here too is with family business, like I see that you guys, got thrown in there that you could come and help out for quote unquote a bit. And then, many years later, you're still in it. And yet you have learned to use it to your advantage. You're also doing other things. You're also access consciousness facilitators, which means you're a joy business facilitator. You're a conscious source, conscious writer facilitator, and anything else that you got going on there?
Being you facilitator.
Facilitator. So there's a lot going on there as well. And what I wanted to talk to the listeners about just for a moment is if you are listening to this and if this is you and you're like, wow, I'm stuck in this family business, please know that there's another choice. Please know that that doesn't have to be your only choice. Just because, as both these ladies have mentioned, it becomes, this legacy that you're supposed to create a future from the past. But what if you had a different choice? And one of the tools in Access that we talk about is, if you're finding that something's a necessity, it can be as simple as this. Ask, all right, so everywhere that I've decided that, being in the family business is a necessity rather than a choice, destroy and uncreate it, right and wrong, good and bad, POC and POD, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds, and ask each day, if I was choosing my reality, what would I choose? And, what would it take for this to work for me, and actually use it to your advantage? Because I see so many people using it as this, reason, justification for not creating their life. And like I said, just because it's a family business doesn't mean you have to, stick to it. My father was an accountant and he owned his own business. And my brother actually went to college and studied accountancy and did all of that. And then he left and came to work with my dad. And my dad said, I'll never forget, he said, I knew within about 6 months that it was never going to work out, because every morning they'd go into the office and the first thing my father would do is get the financial review and look at all the finance stuff in the papers. And he said the first thing David would do is go to the sports pages. And he was like, this isn't going to work. He's not that interested in it, But it gave him a good background, to be in business. So, but my dad was so willing to go, it's not going to work, son. Go find your thing, which I'm so grateful. Like, that's brilliant. So if you are in a family business, please give your kids the choice that they can come or go, that it's not a necessity for them to actually have to be in this. And it can be a massive gift to walk into something that's already been created as well. So you have choice. Don't forget that. So is there anything else that you guys want to, leave the listeners with here, talking about being in the family business, getting away from the family business, or how to deal with it, etc.? Any last tools that you can think of?
Well, for me, I love when I'm working on something, I always ask myself, who does this belong to? Because sometimes there will be like whether I'm dealing with a part of the business and I feel like I'm stuck, but asking like, is it this my thought, or is it actually my brother's thought? Is it my sister's thought? Is it the legacy? And then asking myself and being able to kind of clear that. And then literally staying in the question. I mean, and asking your, like we say 10-second increments, literally asking, even if you have to put on a reminder on your phone to ask yourself a question till you build that muscle, that might be a great thing. Or create a, computer screen that has a whole bunch of questions, or say, hey, ask a question here, because the question opens up different possibilities. And sometimes I don't even maybe always know the right question to ask. And I go, okay, whatever this is, can we just destroy and uncreate it all? And can we choose something different? And what would we like to choose? And I think that has literally got us through. It saved us. And the other piece, a big piece, is acknowledge what you've created together and individually. Acknowledge each other for the talents they have. And I think that kind of is what keeps the sanity also.
I like that. It's such an honoring of each other.
I agree. I think that's probably the biggest thing that we have done for each other and for our brother and our sister and our mom and our niece that are involved in the business, is acknowledging their talents and skills and verbalizing it to them individually. It really does take that, we're business partners, to another level.
Cool. I love that. And I love hearing, the stories about your business over the years and the family business. And I know that you've got some Joy business classes coming up. You've got some one-day classes and also some intro nights, although I think the word intro night is pretty funny because they never end up being intro nights. It's like you can hear Access Tools in a class for 5 minutes and it changes your entire life. So I love the way we call it intro nights. But anyway, we can pretend. So where can people find out about where you're going to have your classes? I mean, accessjoybusiness.com and anywhere else?
Yeah, you can also go to accessconscious.com and look us up under the facilitator list, or our own website, which is accessashift.com.
Access a shift, like ASHIFT.
Yeah.
Access.
Yeah, we're accessing a shift because that's all we really want is to make a little shift.
Access a shift. So ACCESSASHIFT. Access a shift. Yep. And I like that. And it's like, if you misspell it, just play with that, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes, just play with that.
Yeah. So, and also, like I said, you can also find them on accessjoybusiness.com and Arlene and Kathy. And there's many, many other JCFs, we call them, Joy Business Facilitators, around the world. So catch them if you can. I've also got a Kickstart Your Business, which is a new class that we're starting. And it would be on the 23rd of November in Noosa, Australia. So come to Australia, anyone. It's wonderful. Followed by a Joy Business Done Different class, a 3-day class, which is great. They're the classes that we get down and dirty and really get into, things that we can change and what's sticking you in your business. These classes that I'm doing will be available live stream. So if you decide you don't want to come to Australia and see koalas and kangaroos and be in the sun, you can also live stream it from the comfort of your home. So you can check that out also on accessjoybusiness.com, or you can go to my website on simonemillises.com and find out more there. And if you want to find out more about the clearing statement also that we just mentioned, you can go to theclearingstatement.com. So Kathy and Arlene, thank you so much for joining me on here today and exploring, family, going beyond the family business and what that can be like, with no answer and no conclusion and no reference point.
Thank you, Simone.
Thank you very much, Simone.
And I will talk to you guys soon and see you next time. Thanks for joining us, everyone. Bye-bye.